What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today we're going to be discussing if PvE within Destiny 2 has been ruined. Now, yes, this is a huge issue within the Destiny community. It may sound like I'm being flippant or over-exaggerating, but I can assure you, and people who have paid attention to the subreddit and the forums will attest to the fact that I am frankly understating the severity of this issue in many of the people in the community's eyes. Now, this is because with the arrival of the Destiny 2 beta, many people felt that some of the changes being made to Destiny 2 had negatively impacted the PvE experience, to the point where some people swore off the game entirely. Well, we are going to address this issue head on, talk about these people's concerns, which are very legitimate, then talk about some counterpoints to these concerns, and also, very importantly, and the reason I waited to make this video and didn't jump on the controversy train when it was fresh, we're going to talk about Bungie's response to these issues, because Bungie has addressed several of these concerns already. And the reason I'm making this video is because this is a very important topic, well, in general, but also to me. I'm mainly a PvE guy, so this is a huge concern of mine personally, but it's also somewhat of a controversial topic, which means that, unfortunately, although we're only a couple minutes in, we've already got people disliking and making comments. I don't know how they get through the day, just running away from conversations, I guess, but if you do enjoy this discussion, if you feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had, it's an important topic, please show the like button some love to counteract those type of people. So let's get started. This concern really revolves around the fact that PvE has been changed in a way that benefits PvP, that benefits the Crucible, but at the same time hurts the PvE experience in general. So let's break down a lot of the main complaints that people are making about PvE. I think first and foremost, it has to do with the weapon system. This was one of the main things. When the new weapon system was announced, instantly, like well before the beta, a lot of people cried foul, saying that this new weapon system will take away so much of your power in PvE that it's going to be just a negative experience. And that certainly has a legitimate point behind it. The fact that you're taking away sniper rifles and shotguns out of that secondary slot where ammo was readily available and moving it to the heavy slot essentially with power weapons means that you're just not going to have the killing potential that you did in Destiny 1, and that is definitely a reasonable argument to have. Now, of course, the counterpoint to this, and the point I made in kind of hopes that it would be addressed, because I do feel like this is a legitimate concern, but the hopeful counterpoint is that the Destiny 2 experience in terms of PvE would be balanced in a way to account for this. The bosses in strikes and raids wouldn't be as tough as in Destiny 1 in terms of sheer health, because you have to take them down with scout rifles, with hand cannons, and you can't just use a black spindle and just melt them in a matter of, heck, 30 seconds. Well, in fact, I should say a sniper rifle or even a powerful shotgun backed up with another heavy weapon like a Galahorn or a sleeper simulant. The amount of damage output you could get in D1 compared to D2 just because of the weapon system absurdly favors D1. But again, if Bungie knew about this and enemies and bosses were generally weaker to account for this, it really wouldn't be an issue. If you didn't need the damage output as much as you did in Destiny 1, it wouldn't be that bad going down in terms of your damage output, right? Like, that's just common sense. However, I'm sure everyone got a chance to play the new strike, the Inverted Spire, and although I actually do enjoy that strike, I think we can all agree that the boss at the end certainly has a lot of health. The majority of the strike, if not the majority I should say, but a good portion of the strike is just spent damaging that boss. And if you're with a group that isn't too talented, if you're with two randoms that don't really know what they're doing and don't have any power ammo, it can take a long time to take down that boss. Now, thankfully, Bungie has learned from their mistakes, and even though this guy is kind of a bullet sponge, it really doesn't seem as bad because he's a multi-stage boss. It's not so bad fighting the Inverted Spire Strike boss when you're moving from one arena to the next and suddenly the floor is on fire and then suddenly you're surrounded by Vex Milk, and it's actually a cool encounter. Whereas in the original vanilla Destiny, you were shooting, you know, Sepkus Prime or Valista Eric for just minutes and minutes at a time, and they were doing nothing. They were just in the same arena for the entirety of that fight, and that was much less enjoyable. Now, Bungie has addressed this specific issue by saying that the power of primary kinetic weapons and the new secondary energy weapons would be increased in the full game of Destiny. So now, when Destiny 2 comes out, I should say, you are going to be able to do more damage with your kinetic and energy weapon, and therefore, you're going to be able to take down that Inverted Spire Strike boss, among many others, much, much faster. Hopefully. This is all according to what the knowledge we have right now. I can't speculate and say how much extra damage you will be doing, but it is confirmed that you will be doing more damage. So while this is a legitimate concern, if Bungie can balance the game properly, which it does seem like they're already making strides to do, this will not become a concern. It just won't be an issue because you won't need the power potential of the old secondaries if stuff is easier to kill. Now also, it is the factor that, yeah, people want to use shotguns. That makes total sense. You actually want to use your shotgun. You actually want to use your sniper. It's no fun when you get one magazine of shotgun, maybe two, the entire strike. That's just not fun. Well, thankfully, Bungie has addressed this as well, saying that ammo for power weapons, power ammo, is going to drop not only A, more abundantly in Destiny 2 for the full release compared to the beta, but also B, it's going to drop at specific times from specific enemies. So when you kill, let's say, a high-level Cabal or a Storm Minotaur or something like that, it is going to 100% drop power ammo for you and your fire team. Guys, that's fantastic. That's even better than Destiny 1. Destiny 1 is pure RNG. I've done strikes, entire strikes essentially, where I've gotten almost no heavy ammo. Or heck, frankly, I've done strikes where I've gotten no heavy ammo. Just, I'm putting out there that has legitimately happened to me, which is absolutely insane. But if that's a legitimate change that Bungie is making, that's a big plus. And again, I don't want to diminish everyone's concerns, but if that was a concern that you had, you should be hearing this news and saying, you know what? That's a step in the right direction. Again, it's going to very much matter by how much is power ammo increased. If it's 1%, obviously, this is not much of a change. And this concern is still very legitimate. But if it's a noticeable change, that can really alleviate, I think, some of the main complaints coming from the Destiny community in that regard. But moving on from the weapon system, another huge complaint that I heard just everywhere about PvE was involving abilities. Not only is your power potential lowered in terms of weapons, but it's lowered in terms of abilities substantially. Like, the best evidence I can give you guys, or I should say the best example I can give you guys, is with supers. Doing that strike was near depressing for how often you got to utilize your supers. It was probably twice. I got to the point where it was 3 times I would get to use my super 3 times per strike. But sometimes, if it wasn't going well, or if my other teammates were holding on to their supers and not using them and I didn't get any orbs, it would be down to 2 supers per strike, which, considering that strike was like a 19-minute strike. And I can tell you that for a fact because I recorded a lot of my gameplay. So I know that even on the faster end, I'm running 16 minutes for that strike. And then more commonly, it's 17, 18, and higher end 19, sometimes more if you have a terrible team and you keep dying. But that's a big deal. So in a 16-minute strike, let's say you're getting your super twice, maybe 3 times, whereas in Destiny 1, strikes were 8 minutes. Now I suppose that's not a bad thing. That's actually a point for Destiny 2. Longer strikes means more content. That's actually quite good. But you're getting even less supers than you'd get in an 8-minute Destiny 1 strike, which is just insane. That is absolutely phenomenal how much less you're getting your super. And is less fun, because using your super is fun. Running around smashing enemies in the face with your sentinel shield or your pole dancer pole, right? And smacking face and getting those pentakills and 10 kill streaks and all that stuff in PvE is very, very fun. And when you're very limited by how often your super is recharging, it's not fun anymore. And that whole example of how your super is limited essentially applies exactly to your other abilities as well. You are not getting grenades, it seems, anywhere near as often, and when you do, they do much less damage than they did in Destiny 1. Now, all of these reasons, your super recharging slower, your grenades recharging slower, and being not as powerful, those were all made, you know, I think most people would agree, for PvP reasons. And in PvP, they're great. Like, quite frankly, to be honest with you guys, I really enjoyed Destiny 2's PvP. I had more fun in Destiny 2's PvP than I do in Destiny 1's PvP by a large margin. I really enjoy the fact that it's not so ability spammy, that, you know, you're not getting ridiculous grenade kills constantly, that stickies can't insta-kill you, and it's much more gun-focused. But, a lot of people out there are not like me. They're not going to play both. A lot of people out there are just interested in Destiny 2 for PvE, or much prefer the PvE aspects and will just dabble in PvP. And those people are getting somewhat the short end of the stick, according to them. Like, this is one of the main problems that was voiced during the beta, is people felt that, yeah, as a PvE player, I'm getting screwed because the PvP players can't possibly use their guns, right? Like, it was a big concern. So what has Bungie done to address this concern? Well, thankfully, they've also come out and said that they're hopefully fixing this issue as well. Firstly, grenades are supposed to recharge a little bit faster, but more importantly, grenades are also supposed to be much more powerful in PvE. They're going to actually be able to kill a Cabal maybe, instead of just slightly annoy him. Also, your super regeneration has increased across the board in the full game of Destiny 2. So you're going to be getting it more often in PvE, but you're also going to be getting it more often in PvP. Super is recharging super slow. Wow, super is recharging super slow. Yep, I just said that. But that was also a big concern in PvP. People felt like, yeah, you get your super in the last 20 seconds, and everyone would pop theirs at the same time in this big cluster schnutz at the very end of the game, and it wouldn't really matter. So that's going to be improving as well. So we've got those main concerns, that you feel weaker, you feel like you get to use your abilities less, that your abilities are less powerful, and frankly, those are all legitimate concerns, and they're frankly true. You are weaker, you do get to use your abilities less in the Destiny 2 beta when compared to Destiny 1, but Bungie has come out and addressed literally all of these concerns. Now, of course, with me saying that, there's going to be people in the comment section saying, you can't believe Bungie, they've ruined PvE forever, and they may be right. You know, Destiny 2 could roll around and these same problems could still be happening because Bungie didn't increase the recharge rates by as much as they should, right? That's entirely a possibility. But we can't speak to that. Like, I don't know the future. I'm just using the information I've been given, and the information I've been given says that all of these concerns will hopefully be addressed, that are being addressed for the full release of Destiny 2, which I think is a very good thing. I envision there's going to be even more tuning that needs to be done before PvE is at a really welcome and good state. But the fact that the game isn't even here yet, and we're already talking about positive changes in the field of PvE, makes me think that PvE is not ruined, that there is still hope out there. And again, this is coming from someone who is firmly a PvE player. Guys, I went to town. I took Bungie to task for doing negative things for PvP reasons to PvE. the fact that you can't balance things differently was absurd in Destiny 1. Like, why would they nerf hand cannons, right? Because people just could not use other guns, apparently. And they would also be nerfed in PvE. Like, when has hand cannons ever been a problem against the Cabal? Like, have the Cabal on the Destiny forums making complaints or something? It's ridiculous. So that's another concern I hope they fix as well. They better counteract any changes they make for PvP reasons in terms of buffs and nerfs, especially of weapons. They better counteract that in PvE, because otherwise, you know, you're just going to end up with an entirely meh arsenal in PvE, especially with exotics, because everyone's so afraid of them becoming overpowered in PvP. So again, is PvE ruined? No. Yes, it did take a hit. I'll admit, it took a hit to accommodate PvP, but you know, the fact that you're now able to do both, like for me, I'm going to be playing a lot more PvP, which is kind of exciting. Like, I've unlocked a whole half of the game that before I really didn't play too much. Like, you know, I play PvP more than the average player even, but again, for me, I was mainly a PvE guy, but now that I enjoy Destiny 2's PvP more, I mean, that's just more content for me. But also, they've already addressed some of these issues. They're already making strides towards fixing a lot of these issues, and they're clearly open to fixing even more issues. They're clearly open to accommodating these PvE requests by PvE players. And that's all good news as well. And also, when I look at some of the changes coming to Destiny 2 for PvE, like flashpoints and the massive changes to exploration and world quests and adventures and all of this stuff, all of this content. The new raid is going to be so much fun. The Inverted Spire strike, like as a strike, how much better that was compared to a vanilla Destiny strike is just mind-boggling how much Bungie has developed and how far they've come. So I'm very excited by just the content being offered in PvE. So I feel like, although there was some very legitimate concerns expressed, at the end of the day, I'm still pretty excited for Destiny 2. With that being said, the ball's in your court, Bungie. Don't screw up. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, found it informative, enjoyed the discussion, and if you did, please remember to help me out, again, by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content, be sure to slap that subscribe button, and if you actually wanted to do something, make sure to press the bell beside subscribe. Now also, if you guys feel like supporting the channel and myself, check out the official merch that is linked down in the description below. My girlfriend actually wears the Black Cactus HD hoodie around her house because it's so comfortable. And fellas, you know, a girlfriend's seal of approval in terms of comfiness is a pretty important factor, so definitely check those out. And also, guys, if you want to keep up to date with the latest channel activity, definitely check out my Twitter at RickCacus. That's also linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.